Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here. Hope you're happy, healthy and well. It is time for a very quick book review. This time round it is The Darling Buds of May by H.E. Bates. It is a tiny book. I read it quite quickly. I read it after Philip Roth novels, of all things, going from Roth to The Darling Buds of May by H.E. Bates. Now, I had to have a complete change of pace after Roth. Roth just kind of messed with my head a bit, and so I needed to have something that was a little bit more light-hearted, a little bit more la-di-da, a little bit more delightful. And so The Darling Buds of May was it. This was published in 1958, and you might think, oh my God, isn't that a bit twee, Helen? Well, yeah, it was actually, but it wasn't. I found this book to be a crack up. It was delightful. It was surprising, actually. It was really surprising. It is about the Larkin family. What happens is there's Ma Larkin, there's Pa Larkin, and they've got children, and they've got this beautiful young daughter called Mariette. She's stunning. There's a series on this, and the Mariette character was played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. But what happens is they get a visit from Cedric Charlton, and he's kind of like the tax accountant. He's the tax person. He rocks up to their place. There's really no storyline to this book. He rocks up to their place to basically say that they've got to submit their income tax, and the Larkins are totally clueless, and all they seem to do is just basically be nice to each other. They eat so much. They're constantly eating, or they're constantly preparing food, or they're constantly drinking cocktails, or they're constantly just talking about food, drink. What happens is that Mariette is pregnant, okay, and she doesn't have, there's no boyfriend in the picture, there's no husband in the picture, and everything is all la-di-da. Yeah, she's trying to find a husband, you know, which is, for a book that was written in 1958, the concepts in here are actually, I thought, quite forward-thinking, because their daughter is pregnant with absolutely no guy in the process. They don't know who she's pregnant with. They don't seem to care. We find out that the Larkins aren't even married, so they're living in sin. See, even Ma Larkin does not want to be told that she's living in sin. And you go, this is a 1958 book. There are sex scenes in here. There are just the way it's written, oh my God. A lot of the concepts in here, I thought to myself, my God, for the 1950s, they wouldn't have written about these stuff, but they're written in such a twee, interesting, delightful way that you can't help but laugh. So nothing really happens in this book. All they're doing is that they're preparing for a gymkhana, that Mariette is looking for someone to marry, and she kisses and makes out and does the deed with Charlton, the tax accountant. The tax accountant, for whatever reason, seems to always stick around. They manage to keep him stay the weekend, then he stays for 1 week, and then he stayed for 3 weeks, and he's constantly eating, and you know, the tax form just never gets filled out. It was just, in the end, he starts to kind of get enmeshed in their own world as well, and their world is very much, in some way, I think this is how we should be thinking. Nowadays, we should have a much more laid back, laissez-faire, if you could call it that, a very laid back view to the world. The Larkins can actually teach us a thing or two about relaxing, about enjoying life, about enjoying eating, drinking, about enjoying the moment and enjoying the people. There's just a lot of things in this book that are very forward thinking for their times. The sex before marriage, the pregnancy without, I guess, attachment, the fact that one of the characters, Pop Larkin, actually kisses on the mouth and very deeply one of the women of the neighborhood, who we find out is also related to the Larkins. Anyway, so there's all these things that are just kind of new concepts, but you end up just laughing about it. So I love this book, The Darling Buds of May. I've not seen the movie. I've not read the other series. There's a whole series on this book. And the next one I'm going to read is the one where they decide to go to France and get up to all sorts of trouble. For a delightful read that is actually quite tongue-in-cheek, that there are completely forward-thinking concepts, especially around relationships between men and women in this book. For a book that was written in 1958 is actually quite amusing. So it makes me think, for me, my life lesson is, for some reason I used to think the 50s, you know, or people writing books in the 50s, there was a little bit more, I guess you wouldn't say things. It was an ultra conservative period. The fact that they're writing stuff, you know, in books like this and having it published makes me think that humans haven't really changed much. It was quite forward thinking, but that it was written in a comical approach. Anyway, so I think that's it. The Darling Buds of May. Read it, enjoy it, love it. Let me know what you think if you've read this book. Okay then, bye for now.